Hmm. Hello, good evening, neighbors, friends, brothers and sisters. Welcome. This is your member provincial parliament, Faisal Hassan, and welcome again and joining you again another Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. to hear your concerns, as well as also to speak to you about the week's work. And this week also the legislature has also resumed. I have a lot of things to talk to you about, but before I begin, I wish to acknowledge at this time, the land that we know now as York Southwestern is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuits, and Métis. Folks, welcome. You are joining your member provincial parliament for York Southwestern, neighbors, friends, brothers and sisters. Welcome again. Those who are joining us Instagram, welcome. And those also joining us, Faisal Hassan NDP, Twitter, welcome. And also Faisal Hassan NDP Facebook page, welcome. Those also who are joining us also on LinkedIn and also YouTube, welcome. And if you haven't subscribed my YouTube, please do so. So you could also have access to also updates quickly that, as I speak at the legislature, debates, as well as also when I am holding the government accountable, a question period, and also members' statements, etc. So you will be getting it quickly and right away. Folks, this week has been, I was very disappointed to learn of the unprovoked attack on Ukraine this week. And the sovereignty of their democracy must be respected. I hope for a return to a diplomacy as soon as war and violence are never the right answer. The international community must stand with Ukraine against this unjustified aggression. The scenes we are seeing coming out of Ukraine are disturbing. Neighbors, friends, and brothers and sisters, my thoughts are with the people of Ukraine and with the Ukrainian Canadians concerned for friends, loved ones, and homeland. And this is, folks, very concerned. And we have seen now Ukraine being attacked from land, air, and sea. And what is the world doing about it? Sanctions alone is not enough because we have seen sanctions did not work in South Africa during the apartheid. We've seen during the daytime, nations were used to say, we are against, we are for sanctions, but during the night, then they were trading with South Africa. We've seen that history, folks. So I think we need more than sanctions. We need more action and to defend the people of Ukraine. I think that's we have to do more to support them. And quickly, I think I don't know the name of here, and I think I don't know, but your handle is Original Menu, and I think I think I can just read his comments for you guys to understand quickly. It says that hi Faisal, but you didn't tell me your name. I can only see your handle, Original Manu. NDP believes in spending, and then spending a little more. Eventually, someone has to pay the bill. Do you feel this policy is beneficial for the long term? And I think, my friend, I will respond to you, but I don't know your real name. I would prefer if you have said my name is so and so. and I am this from this riding and this neighborhood. I think government collects revenue, and those revenues are the important also to spend on programs and services for the people, such as education, healthcare, the greater good. And that's why we have government. Government has to collect revenue and have to spend it, and we spend it on the priorities of the government. But what you are just talking about is not accurate. And if you look at it also, um, the this current government, Ford, let's talk about it. And he has been basically giving and looking after his buddies and friends. And I don't see you talking about those, but when you talk about supporting people who are struggling, of providing them, basic days, providing them support for them, then it's just government spending, blah, 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 blah. I think it's necessary the government to spend, but also it's necessary the government to be also looking after the people and making sure that everybody is looked after and has a bold, concrete a plan. Also to have transparent and accountability, because that's what is good government. Good government is looking after the people's money, and also making sure that we spend those resources effectively. Such as the education, as you see the gaps of education, have you seen? We are almost 16.1 billion or 0.8 or zero point 0.1 billion behind in repairs in schools, and that's also the cuts, and also that has been accumulated by the Donald McGuinty and Kathleen Wynne and Ernie Eves and Mike Harris, and now Ford, and we've seen the bills like Bill 115. I'll be happy to speak to you about the importance, but I think the good thing here is that a government has to look after the people, and also has to be also responsible and be accountable and transparent. We have now many programs in current government. We are asking accountability and transparency to make sure the money spent also shows up, and also making sure that people receive services and programs, and that's not happening. Folks, also those who are joining us, also our Facebook page, welcome Louise, welcome Brandon, welcome Kalshale, welcome Bob Murphy, welcome folks. It's a packed program, and I'll just also quickly talk about our youth council. And I'm pleased to announce this year's a team of young leaders participating in the Faisal Hassan MPP Youth Council. And young people possess a unique perspective, and the Youth Council provides an opportunity for youth to take action and have their voices raised through community and political action. I'm happy to welcome Jamila Winter Scotland, Jordan Crawford, and also Ibrahim Akinola and Katra Rehdan and Ellie Brislow to the Youth Council, and I'm excited to work with them and to see them apply their experiences, making our community stronger. And thank you. And as you know, our community is home to many brilliant and inspiring young leaders. I'm inspired by their community commitment and involvement, and I look forward to working with them to give a voice to youth who are too often ignored. And also I am thanking, and also thank you, the outgoing Youth Council team, for their tremendous work in our community. And such as the Shantos, Tanga Ligama, Numan Rahman, Muna Ahmed, Olivia Lee, Natalie Bila, Rhythm Rana, and Zaid Hassan, Rohan Rahman, Sahar Osman, Sumayna Taslim, Emily Hanley. And I would like to express my gratitude for your work in service of the community, of our community. Your contributions during the pandemic on important issues such as youth mental health cannot be understated. The pandemic has had a heavy impact on our community, and especially for vulnerable individuals. I value your contribution and your work to highlight the important issues that facing young people in our community. And I'm very proud of the inspiring youth who are willing to stand and also deliver and contribute greatly to our community. Well, folks, thank you. I know other folks have welcome Ayana Francis, our author of our my favorite children's book in our community. Please support her by visiting travelingfitbooks.com. And she already have two great books, and support her for her work, folks. And here is also comments. Abdul Rahman Abdul Fattah says the government left us in the worst condition with regards to the disability community, or disability isn't enough for only rent. Exactly. And that's also, something the government looking after our most vulnerable people. And definitely it's important that we look that, and also look at also how do we also make every member of our community active, and also making sure that they are productive members of society. And definitely I agree with you, we need to make sure that the rates is also livable wage, and also to support young people, and also people with ODSP recipients and Ontario Works support that they deserve. Well, thank you. And folks, also thank you, folks who are joining. Rahan Chandel, hey, says, Faisal, do you think the war between Russia and Ukraine can lead up to a World War III? Well, that's a big question, Rogan Chandel. And I think I really don't know to answer that question, but I think we should be all concerned about this. And I think we should be standing with the people of Ukraine, concrete and practical support, not just sanctions, because in my opinion, sanctions might not work. We have seen many cases in South Africa, it didn't work, and so on. So we need to do something, and we need to act to support the people of Ukraine. And remember, this is also a sovereign and independent state, member of the international community, and the member of the United Nations also. And this is a violation of international law. So to answer your questions, I don't know. So we shall see, and hopefully not, that's why I say diplomacy is important, that we have to also reach out both sides, especially Russia, to stop this aggression and allow the people of Ukraine to determine their destiny. Also, welcome, Murphy. Brandon says, good evening, Faisal. Thank you. Carl Charles says, good evening. Welcome, folks. Good evening, too. And also this week, I was honored to be invited by the most Reverend Glanters Samuel to the Cathedral Church of Our Lady and Saint Basil for their Black History celebration this weekend, last Sunday, this past Sunday. And this was their 12th annual celebration, and a wonderful event that I was so proud to participate in the honor of Black History Month. Thank you to the leaders and all the congregants for the warm welcome, and thank you. And I look forward joining you again and again, also listening to you, and also the wonderful also award that you have also given to me. Thank you. I appreciate it. And welcome, folks who are joining also on Instagram and Twitter, Faisal Hassan NDP, Facebook page, Faisal Hassan NDP, LinkedIn, and YouTube as well. Also, this week, I was happy to visit again Community Place Hub as this week, as they delivered a family day meals to vulnerable members of our community. It was also the unveiling of the newly renovated kitchen space. They were worthy recipients of the Resilient Communities Fund grant from the Ontario Trillium Foundation, enabling them to expand on their vital work in our community. And also, you can also read the press release that I have commented that the Ontario Trillion Foundation have put together, and also about the news of this important provincial funding and it is impact in our community. That also the press release also you can also check also my last newsletter which I've sent this week, and you could also subscribe if you haven't received our newsletters. Okay, you can get Faisal Hassan and Faisal Hassan .ca, my website, and there you can also subscribe my newsletter, so we can update you weekly basis as well. Well, Ayana says, how was the event 2 Fridays ago? Amazing. Well, thank you. That was a Black History celebration, and Ayana was also one of my guests, and also distinguished community leaders joined me. We talked about Black History Month. We have reflected. We also heard about what we need to do and how we need to help the community, helping also young authors, children's writers such as Ayana Francis, her books, and they're excellent. Actually, I have a copy. Let me show you folks quickly if you haven't seen it. This is one of her books, and this is ABC. Where are we, Africa? You know, and also her previous book is also Where Are We, West Indies. ABC, Where Are We, West Indies, and that was also first book, and also this is the second book. And you can also check it out at travelingfitbooks.com to get, and also you can also follow her in Instagram, Traveling Books as well, and that is also Traveling Fit Books, and that's a handle. And also support Ayana Francis, folks. There you are. Okay, you can see that. Very good. Thank you. And thanks to Ayana Francis for joining us Friday past for a conversation to reflect Black History Month. Thank you. And folks on Facebook joining, welcome Darren, welcome others as well. And Darren says, I wish to thank you to both Faisal and Frank for helping me with getting my OHIP card renewed when a Service Ontario location refused to do it. Being disabled is no fun, Darren Bribery says. Well, thank you, Darren, for joining this evening, and you are most welcome. You know, our office here is here to help the community, and if we could be any help to you with regards to provincial matters, you can always contact us, folks, 416-243-7984, or you can email us, fhassan-co@ndp.on.ca. And that's also happy to also respond it quickly. And also, Brandon quickly says, today, Dr. Kerry Rand Moore announced today that COVID-19 briefing will come to an end. Do you think that it is a good idea to end COVID-19 briefings? Well, that's a very good question, Brandon. Jerry Grossi, welcome as well. And well, that is the doctor. We have been relying on doctors and the sign tables. And if that is what he's planning to do, that's a welcome news, Brandon. I do welcome that, and that's an excellent news. And we're looking forward his announcements and happy to listen and also to report back to you later as well. Well, thanks for the question, Brandon. And also, Regal Chandel says from Instagram, this is his comments, quickly says, Putin has put out a statement saying he will release a nuclear missile somewhere in the West at any time. What is your take on that? Oh my God, that's not that's not. We need to come back to the table and have a dialogue and diplomacy. You know, that's why we're saying, you know, war is not the answer. You know, we need peace, and we need to coexist and work together. So I will say we need to engage with him and with the Russian Federation to make sure that that doesn't happen. Okay. Well, thank you. It is great to have you as our voice, says Abdi Fatah Muhammad Ali. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to represent you, the decent and hardworking people of York Southwestern at the Ontario Legislature, and I'm going to work hard to earn your trust. I'm confident again to continue the work you sent me in 2018, June 7th, and hopefully this coming June 2nd, we can elect Andrew Horvath, my leader, next Premier of Ontario, so we can form an NDP government to make sure that we deliver results for the people of Ontario. Well, thank you for your continued support as well. Well, folks, also this week I stood up at the legislature and also raised concerns about the small businesses in question period on Tuesday. I had an opportunity to question the government on small businesses that have been ignored in the last round of small businesses support grants. I have heard from several local business owners about the many issues, including unjustified denials, unresolved obligations. As the government moves forward with another round of support, it is important that they address the mistakes of the past and ensure they are not repeated, because there are many businesses that were qualified but have not provided support. And I was happy to advocate one of our constituents to make sure, because they have not received either acceptance or denial, and that's not right. We can do better, and we should do better, and to make sure that we support these businesses. Michael, Anthony, welcome. Valerie, welcome. And folks also from Instagram, welcome as well. Those who are just joining, you're a member of Provincial Parliament, Faisal Hassan. Good evening, neighbors, friends, brothers and sisters. I join you every Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. to hear your input and also your concerns. And also I give you an opportunity to read your comments and also to take some of your questions as well. Well, quickly, this week also was an important day. On Wednesday, folks, after lengthy prorogation of the legislature by the government, I was thrilled to return to the Queen's Park this week to get to work on passing important legislation. Among the important bills that I have working on, bills that MPPs will be working on, is one that I was so proud to table on behalf of my leader, Andy Horvath, and the entire NDP caucus. And the bill is called Our London Family Act. And it possesses broad and sweeping changes to various pieces of legislation to combat the scourge of Islamophobia and hatred of all kinds in Ontario. It is named in honor of 3 generations of the Afzal family killed in Islamophobia terror attack in London, and is co-sponsored by my London colleagues, MPP Teresa Armstrong, London Crenshaw, Teresa Canahan, London North Centre, and Beggy Sattler, London West. This bill was developed in close consultation with the National Council of Canadian Muslims and has earned its endorsement. Incidents of hatred are sadly on the rise in Canada. In June 20, Mohammed Aslam Safis, a volunteer caretaker, was murdered while volunteering at the International Muslim Organization Mosque, that's the IMO in Etobicoke. And in Toronto, just this past week, we learned of multiple incidents of anti-Semitism at Toronto schools, and no one should have to fear for their safety while practicing their faith, nor should they feel targeted in their communities because of their religions. As I stated in my comments at the legislature this week, it is not a partisan issue. It is a moral one. That is why we have reached out to all parties for their support and to encourage a swift action on this important bill. It is my hope that the legislature will be unified in its support of our Family Act and recognizes the need to avoid delay. I know we can make concrete changes to keep communities safe from religious and race based hatred. And I appreciate the support and encouragement from members of our community. I look forward to continue my work on this bill and hearing from the people of York Southwestern on this issue and other communities across our great province that requires our focus at Queen's Park. And also, I want to talk about a little bit about this important bill in collaboration with the National Council of Canadian Muslims. The NDP tables legislation to combat Islamophobia and hatred crimes. Um, um, and this Wednesday, I did tabled on behalf of my leader and the entire NDP caucus our Family Act, which my leader Andrew Horvath and the NDP created in collaboration with the National Council of Canadian Muslims. And the bill is co-sponsored, as I said, my colleagues from London North Centre, and also London Fanshawe, and also London West. My colleagues Tressa Armstrong, Torres Canahan, and Becky Sutler. It makes multiple actions, folks, including establishing a provincial review of hate crimes and hate motivated incidents in Ontario, and designating safe zones around all houses of worship. The bill addresses calls to action made in the National Council of Canadian Muslims recommendations to the National Summit on Islamophobia, urging provincial leaders to move beyond words and take action, concrete, meaningful action to combat Islamophobia in Ontario. On June 2nd, June 6th, 2021, 3 generations of the Afsar family were killed in an Islamophobic terror attack while out on a walk in London, Ontario, leaving the youngest member of the family, 9-year-old Faisal Hassan, as the sole survivor. In September 2020, Muhammad Aslim Safir, a volunteer caretaker, was murdered while volunteering at the International Muslim Organization Mosque in Toronto, which is the IMO in Etobicoke. For weeks, a convoy protest organized by known Islamophobias, ultra-right agitators, waved hateful white supremacist symbols in Ottawa and across Canada. No one should have to fear for their safety while walking, wearing a hijab, or worshipping at a mosque. Hate crimes and Islamophobia are on the rise in Canada, and we must do everything to ensure Ontario is a place where generations of Muslim families can live without being targeted by violence and hate, no matter the religion they practice, their clothes, or the color of their skin. Political leaders have failed to take concrete action to stop white supremacy and Islamophobic hate. The Ontario NDP has heard loud and clear the Muslim community's message that words are not enough. That is why we collaborated with the National Council of Canadian Muslims and other community organizations to create legislation that takes real action to stamp out Islamophobia, white supremacy, and hate crimes. And we have reached out to all parties for their support. The NDP's Our Family Act will ensure provincial review of hate crimes and hate-motivated incidents in Ontario in order to reduce their occurrences. Safe zones around religious institutions, which are often the targets of intimidation and hate-motivated demonstrations. And also new tools and strategies for Ontario schools to combat all forms of racism, including Islamophobia, empowering also of the speaker to ban all kinds of inciting racism, racist, homophobic, transphobic, or xenophobic hate. Dismantling also white supremacist groups by preventing them from registering as also societies. The establishment of also an Ontario Anti-Racism Advisory and Advocacy Council to make sure racialized communities have a say on government policies that impact their lives. So these are, folks, the Our Family Act that has been that I have tabled this week. And hopefully you can also contact your member provincial parliament to make sure they support this bill. Okay, thank you very much. I'll take some of the comments, folks, that have been coming from the Facebook page first. And Bruzy Sama Mimi says hello. Hello again from Instagram, and says, thank you for promoting harmony. Indeed, thank you. That's what we need. We're all in it together, and we should protect everyone in Ontario. And NDP will do that, and we need to pass this bill. Thank you for joining me. And also, I will also take your comments here, folks. Quickly, Brandon says, quickly, I'll come to you, Valerie, as well. Yesterday, Dr. Karen Moore announced that masks will no longer be mandatory in Ontario elementary schools and high schools. Do you think that is a good idea to stop mask mandates in Ontario elementary schools and high schools? Well, Brandon, again, if the doctor says so, then that's what we need to do. Exactly. We've been relying on him to lead in issues of public health. And that's a good news, my friend. So that's awesome. And also, Valerie says it's sad legislation must be invoked to reduce hate. If everybody could unite in peace, we could eliminate most suffering for all children. Children are always the innocent victims of hatred and violence. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely, kids are the victims, and also everybody, especially kids, are victims, and that's true. And I agree with you. And this is also that's why we need to work together. We are one community, and we need to make sure hate and fear has no place in our society, and that we cannot discriminate anybody in Ontario, and that's a good thing, folks. And also, we need to also think about our family act that is really addresses important legislations that has not been consulted previously, but this is also widely consulted and consultations with the community, and that's why we are also tabling this, Valerie, to make sure that we have tackle hate and hatred in our society in that regard. Also, Brandon comes back again and says the Ford government announced a few weeks ago that the COVID-19 restrictions will be lifted on March 1st, 2022. Do you think that is a good idea to lift all COVID-19 restrictions? Well, I think if the public health have already said that, and that's the direction we are moving, definitely we rely on public health to guide us about the important issues of the public health, and definitely it's something I'm looking forward to it as well. Well, thank you, Lenny, welcome, and Frank, welcome, and agreed on the, Frank says, agreed on the disabled part. All the best to you, Darren. Absolutely. Thank you, Darren. And that's why, our office is here to help you, and we're here to support all our constituents, members of our community who needs any issues pertaining to provincial matters. Okay, so thank you, and you can count on us fighting for you. And quickly, Brisi Sama Mimi says, our thoughts are with those in Ukraine. Indeed, I have talked about that. We stand with Ukraine, and I said again and again, because only embargoes, boycotts, that kind of thing is not gonna work. We need more than that, and I think we need to come back to the table. We need a diplomacy to work, and we need to convince the Russian federations to leave independent states like Ukraine, and there's no need for war. We could talk about peace. And quickly, Valerie says September 11 attacks infiltrated hatred towards Muslims. Those who committed those dreadful acts were not Muslims and don't represent the Muslim faith. Muhammad breached the Old Testament and New Testament. Well, thank you, Valerie, for sharing that. And it's very important, folks. We need to make sure that we help one another. We are all human beings, we are all one race and we are one community. And we have to work together and to make sure that we make things better, not worse. And that's why I am your representative, fighting to make things better for our community and bringing people together to make sure we give our kids opportunities, and we work together to bring more resources and also more opportunities in our community. United, we stand together, and it's also important. Well, meet me at Crossroads. Says good evening, welcome, and Aruela also joined and says love conquers all. Indeed, we need love, more love. Thank you. And love conquers all. Absolutely, that's true. And our friends is active in Instagram, and I will take some of their comments as well here. And please says again, please know that many communities members love our Muslim neighbors. Of course, our neighbors love every neighbor and every community. Our community is mosaic. Our community is united to work together. And as their representative, I'm bringing our community together, united, to focus solving the problems that previous governments of liberals and conservatives have created in our community. And we have seen many bills and many cuts and also services, education, healthcare, and many agendas of privatizations. We want to take back our province to make sure we are serving everybody. And thank you for your solidarity, folks. And also, Frank says, I agree with you on how the situation is unraveling in Ukraine, Brother Hassan, NDP. Well, thank you. And again, Valerie says, thank you for being a strong voice for country's children. Well, thank you very much. My leader appointed me as the critic for official opposition, critic for youth opportunities. And it is, my responsibility to also make sure that we address the concerns of young people and giving young people a voice and opportunities. And also, I want to talk to you this week also, my colleague from Paktel IPAC, Potila Koproche, and I tabled a private member's bill, Bill 87, and that is also a Black Mental Health Day Act, which would proclaim the first Monday of March as a Black Mental Health Day. And that's also a bill I'm looking forward to passing as well, to work with my colleague from Paktel, High Park, Potila Koproche. And that's also things I've done this week as well. So folks, those who are just joining, you're joining your member provincial parliament, Faisal Hassan, neighbors, friends, brothers and sisters, welcome. I join you every Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I'm looking forward to listening your concerns, your thoughts, your suggestions, and so that, I welcome all of them. You can also email them at fhassan-co@ndp.on.ca, or you can telephone me also, 416-243-7984. Well, meet me at the crossroads, says yes, thumbs up. Absolutely. And also, folks, today also my leader had also talked about the surgery issues that has been a huge problem in our province. No one should have to wait in pain for surgery. No one should have to live with the anxiety and frustration of an illness getting worse by the day while you wait. Almost 1 million Ontarians are waiting for surgery right now. And for those living in rural and small town Ontario, the waits can be the longest. And people shouldn't have to wait for the next election. We need to start to fix surgical backlogs now. And that's why my leader today, also joined by Kati Mott of the Ingersoll, to join her online today. And she talked about experience, is living in pain, waiting for a hip replacement surgery and hysterectomy because of her hospital is rural, surgery and operating room hours are restricted, and matters life has been un, uh, appended by the waiter. A former town councillor herself said she would consider running again if she would had a new hip to hit the hassles. Her family has even considered selling her home because she has trouble with the stairs. And Kathy deserves better, folks. People in rural and small town Ontario deserve better. We all deserve better. And the last Liberal government froze hospital budgets and laid off 1,600 nurses. Between the pandemic and the Ford government's cuts, hospitals have been brought to their knees. So my leader will be having a motion, hope to people waiting in pain for surgery with investments and plus to recruit, retain, and return healthcare workers and a strategy tailored to rural and small town Ontario. We can help people get care they need. And our motion, which will be debated and put to a vote at Queen's Park this coming Monday, focuses on rural and small town hospitals and surgeries, and it calls for 1.3 billion investment, a number backed by the Independent Financial Accountability Office of Ontario, to clear the backlog of surgeries people are waiting for. It also includes a strategy and funding to meet a broader healthcare needs in rural and also small town Ontario, and support for local hospitals and community clinics with a healthcare hiring strategy that includes the repealing of Bill 124, Bill 124, a Ford's low wage bill that also really disrespects workers and frontline workers as well. Well, folks who are joining, welcome from Instagram and also Facebook page, Faisal Hassan, YouTube, and also LinkedIn, and also Twitter, Faisal Hassan NDP. And also, absolutely, is there a plan to recruit doctors from foreign countries? Well, that's also important. We need to have all options. We need to expand and make sure that we first recruit locally. We recruit here. We make sure that we are giving opportunities folks who are already here, and make sure then accordingly to that, then we have to look for other professionals elsewhere. I agree. And to also make sure that already those who are here, who are qualified but not working, we can also make sure that they also have opportunities to qualify, internships, co-ops, and placements, and transition them into their profession. And that's also something we can do. And as the also I was speaking earlier on about the youth opportunities critic, and as the youth opportunities critic, I have been listening to young people across the province, and young people folks have been saying again and again, they've been saying they need opportunities, and when they go to universities and colleges and they graduate with debt. They graduate debt, and also they're asked again, work experiences, because employers are looking people with extensive experiences. But when they graduate, how are they going to gain the experience if they are not provided while they are in universities, colleges, etc.? So that's why I also put a motion at the legislature, motion to bring work integrated learning. And a lot of young people across universities and colleges and across the province have said they need internships, paid internships, co-ops, paid co-ops, and placements that are also paid. So they gain the necessary experience, which also leads to a full employment. And that's why I tabled that motion. That motion was passed February 28, 2019. To this day, the Ford Conservatives have not put resources to hire young people to have the experience they need. And that's a shame. And also, our motion also expanded and said those recently graduates also, they should also qualify. Those who are not in school also should also qualify and get also the upgrading and also a path to also skill trades. So they gain the necessary skills. So we invest education. We support teachers. We support also young people to gain those experiences. And that's why we need to make sure education is a priority. An NDP government will be a priority. We'll be making sure that also we hire more teachers, we have smaller class sizes, education workers, and also making sure that we also rebuild and make sure also we repair those old schools, and also especially ventilations. And we also seen that Bill 115, that the Liberals, Dalton McGuinty and Kathleen Wynne brought to Ontario, that also destroys our education and also mistreats our teachers. And now we've seen the court's decision about that. Ford and the also Dr. McGuinty and Kathleen Wynne, and now we see the gap, the problems they've created for education. We need an NDP government to correct that in June 2nd. So that's a very important election, folks. And and that's also important because listening to young people is important. We need also to give them a voice, also to have to be on the table, and mechanisms also to bring their ideas into translations, into a plan of action, into laws, and also listening to them. They are already leaders fighting for climate change. They're fighting for social justice, and they're fighting for housing issues, jobs, and opportunities for not only for young people, but for everybody, folks. And that's a very important. Folks who are just joining, you're a member provincial parliament, Faisal Hassan, and you're joining Instagram, Faisal Hassan NDP, Twitter, Faisal Hassan NDP, Facebook page, Faisal Hassan NDP, LinkedIn, and also YouTube. Well, welcome, folks. I join you every Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. to hear your concerns and also take some of your questions, and also hear some of your issues you would like to share with me. You can always, share your concerns. You can always write to me, fhassan-co at ndp.on.ca. You can also telephone me at the constituency office, 416-243-7984. And happy also to hear any concerns you might have. If you also want to send some of the petitions we have, you can also go to also directly faisalhassan.ca. That's my website. If you want also to sign for that petition, you can go there. If you also want to subscribe my newsletter, you can also do that too. And you can also connect that way. I can also update you what's happening, and also I can continue sending you those newsletters as well. Well, thank you. Another issue, folks, we have been talking about is housing, and also basic days, and also we talked about a lot about housing. We talked about also childcare, and childcare, folks. Our families here, young families, are struggling. An average is over 3,000 or more. They can't afford it. And now there's an opportunity. The Liberals, since 1993, federal Liberals and the Ontario Liberals, they have been promising childcare, and they had and they had plenty opportunities to do so, but they haven't. And they have been promising the Red Book, John Critcher, and also Martin, and also continues the list. They have done. Now there's an opportunity that Justin Trudeau agrees that that it's needed to implement a 10-day childcare to implement. But now we have a problem with Ford. Ford is not signing it, and we need to implement. We don't have to wait until the election. We can do it now. We need to sign a $10 birthday childcare, because that will help our families, and it is needed to do it now. And we have been asking this government to act, and act now. And that's very important, folks. It's also an important issue for us here in our community. We need to make sure that it's signed, and definitely an NDP government come June 2nd will implement it. Absolutely. because we have been fighting for years and years and years, and the Liberals have been promising years and years and blocking those promises. Now is an opportunity to take advantage as they are putting finally the federal Liberals to this. But we have a challenge from the Ford Conservatives at the moment, and we need this to be implemented before we go to election in June 2nd. And definitely we will pressure that and advocate that to be implemented now, not wait before the after the election. And we'll do that. Another issue is housing, and it's a lot of crisis in terms of housing, and no one can afford anywhere to live in our community and across the province. And this is also the neglect of the Liberals in 1993, when John Critchay and Martin said we have nothing to do with housing, and they downloaded it to provincial governments. At the time, Mike Harris was the premier. What did Mike Harris do? He downloaded to municipalities. Erin Eves did also download it to municipalities. What did the Liberals in 2003 when they came to power? What did they do? They also downloaded to municipalities. That is Dr. McGuinty and Kathleen Wynne as well did that. And we see our city, our mayor, John Torrey, and city councillors are doing their best to handle the housing, even though they have made some also, they could have done better, but they're also limited, folks. And that's why we need to make sure that we do need to invest. We need to invest housing and to tackle. And one of the things we can do is to also go after these flippers and also speculators and make sure we provide options for people. Quickly, before I talk about that, I just want to take quick comment from a Facebook page, comments that's coming. And again, Brandon says, this week, Dr. Tracer Trum said that if the COVID-19 restrictions are lifted, the province could be at risk of entering another lockdown. Do you think that it is a good idea to lift COVID-19 restrictions? Well, I cannot speak for the Toronto Public Health, but I think the Ontario Dr. Moore is actually saying the otherwise, and we have to listen to the provincial doctors and see what they say, and from there, that's what we are going to rely on, Brandon, and making sure that that is headed on the right direction, hopefully, and that's what I'm looking forward to it. So thank you for your comments, and thank you to all of you folks. And I was just talking about the crisis of housing, and housing has been a disaster because many governments in the past have neglected it, Liberals, conservatism. And we know that you have seen now almost a year and a half, we put our platform, housing plan forward. I have mailed it to you folks. I have also talked about again and again here, and that's why we need to have several options in housing, and that's why we need to also bring about trying to help people own their own homes by giving them also equity loans of 10%. And that way, many young people or people of working class making less than 200,000, it takes years and years to save that 10%. So if we can help them become owners of their own properties, that's also a good thing. So that option is also available, our plan. And also we can also support people who are not able to carry on a mortgage, but also can also need to be assisted in terms of having more affordable housing, such as co-ops and other housing, but also to make sure that we also tackle the issue of rent control. Rent control is out of hand and out of control. We've seen also Doug Ford and the Conservatives lift new buildings for exemptions of the rent control, and also McGuinty, Dr. McGuinty and Kathleen Wynne, they didn't even implement a real rent control, and we're seeing also the challenge we have on that. And also, folks, when I talk about landlords, I'm not talking about mom and pop. So remember that. I'm talking about corporations, big landlords, folks. We need to make sure that rent control is there, and also we need to tackle also above guidelines increases, which every year the landlords are allowed to increase continuously. That also makes things difficult for people who are getting a fixed income, and continuously, if that continues, they won't be able to afford. And we need to help them in that regard. So banning that is the key. You see also annual rent increases. This year is 1.2, but blast also above guideline increases. Sometimes that is also huge in terms of what landlords are also adding up every year, and that's not right. I'll take some of the comments coming on Facebook. And here we see Valerie says, early education providers a wonderful foundation for children, identifying disabilities before children enter a great school, provides the opportunity for early intervention. The pending childcare program is necessary. Absolutely. And also early childhood educators are doing a fantastic job, and we need to make sure that they are also paid a living wage so that they can focus their job, so they can raise a family, and to also be a proficient, worthy of a profession. And that's why we need to support them and to make sure that childcare is there for our children and our families in Ontario. And also, Valerie says again, rent caps are necessary. Many landlords are overcharging and neglecting to property, maintaining rental properties. Absolutely, that's so true. And one of the challenges with these landlords is that they say, with regards to the above guideline increases, they say that I have fixed here, I have fixed there, I have fixed, and basically that should be their responsibility. Period. They should be looking after their buildings, but they don't. They just neglect it, and they just collect rent, and people are living in conditions that are unacceptable. And also they're charging above rent increases continuously every year, plus annual rent increase, and it becomes now unaffordable. No one is able to afford. We have seen many empty buildings. No one is able to afford to rent them. What is the point then? You know, waiting somebody else to come? Well, those who are living are now being evicted because they're no longer able to afford these properties. That's a shame. A province like ours, we can do interventions, we can bring rent control, we can ban above guideline increases, we can make sure that also we tackle the speculators and flippers, we can invest, make sure that, our people in Ontario are put first. And we need to do that, and that requires a government that will put you first and also work for you, not just for their buddies, as we've seen this current government, and continues to do that. That is not right, folks. But come June 2nd, an NDP government will make sure we put your priorities first. Issues of affordabilities. No one can afford housing, a life, even auto insurance. Our auto insurance is unbelievable. We are targeted because of our postal code. We pay higher premiums above provincial average. We pay average over 3,000. That comes down to 300, to 240, 250, and that's unacceptable. Whereas some neighborhoods are paying only $100 or less, and that's also happening, folks. So people are not able to afford life, and if this continues, folks, who is going to afford to live in our community and many communities across major cities in our province? So that's why we need to do something about it, and that's why in this election is important to tackle these important issues. We have seen also how workers are treated. We've seen our community. We have essential workers, frontline workers. It's home to our community. It's home to essential workers, frontline workers. And these workers are the ones who are moving our province forward. Transit drivers, bus drivers, TTC drivers. We've seen BSWs, nurses, and yet, when it comes, as this government calls them, heroes or champions, but yet when it comes to respecting them, then he brings the bills like 124, capping their salary to 1%. That is a shame. That's unacceptable, folks. Well, an NDP government will change that. We will rebuild Bill 124. Absolutely. And folks, thank you. This is your member provincial parliament, Faisal Hassan, joining you every Friday from 7 to 8 p.m. And I have been with you since 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. tonight. We've talked about a lot of things tonight. We have also shared many of your comments tonight. And hopefully, those of you who have missed it, I know many of you cannot join every Friday, but I know some of you are also watching it afterwards. And these videos are going to be there. You have to keep watching them. You can go back on the YouTube, or you can watch it on LinkedIn. You can watch it on Facebook page, Instagram, and also Twitter. And we'll also try our best to reach your also space, your social platform, where we can also try to expand those also places where we can connect you at the same time. Well, folks, thank you. And thank you, those who joined us on Instagram, Faisal Hassan NDP, and those also who joined us also Twitter, Faisal Hassan NDP, and also LinkedIn, and also YouTube as well. And Valerie says, last word, thank you and good night. Well, folks, good night to you as well, Valerie, and to each and every one of you, folks. Well, until I see you again next Friday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., I say to you, folks, a good evening and good night, and I'll see you again next Friday from 7 p.m. Until then, folks, bye. I'll see you again.